Has it started?
All right, and hello everyone. This is Bill Peschel, and this is my. Well,
go
ahead.
I'm interrupting you. I shouldn't interrupt you. Go ahead, dear.
That's quite all right. We're just kind of making sure everything is working fine here. But this is Bill Peschel, and this is Teresa Peschel, and this is Agatha Christie They Watched. This is a second attempt at trying to do this right.
Yes, we we had operator error. The brand new, the wonderful, more fancier camera that we had, that our son gave to us, because of course he has many webcams and it was a spare for him, and it turned out that it messed up the microphone, so we went back to the other microphone and then the old camera, and somehow I was not involved because I carefully do not touch anything because I will mess it up. Somehow the mic turned off. And so anybody who was watching our original broadcast saw us having a good time having a conversation, and it was
That's
all
what they saw.
silent.
That's what they saw. And we apologize for that.
So we're trying again.
And so far it seems like we're live, and it says live up here on the screen over here. So we are broadcasting, and
hopefully with sound.
Oh, there's nothing here. The X's are not there. Anyway,
were there little X's?
Well, if you mute something, yes. I won't demonstrate that
because
otherwise.
Yes, please don't demonstrate the mute button.
Well, but also we're here to talk about Checkmate. Now, Checkmate is a 2022 telenovela from China, and it shows. Those are our main cast members. It is 24 episodes, and it encompasses how many novels, dear?
A lot. Let me count them off.
6 or 7? Okay.
Let me count them off. It opens with Murder on the Orient Express, then The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, Cat Among the Pigeons, which includes in its entirety, buried in Cat Among the Pigeons, the Hercule Poirot story, The Nemean Lion, which, by the way, is not on any of the official paperwork. And then we move on to 1-2 Buckle My Shoe, which includes in the central motive and murder method from The Mysterious Affair at Styles, and that's not included in any of the official paperwork either. And then we have 5 Little Pigs, and then the short story, The Kidnapped Japanese Consul, then 3-act tragedy, and finally Curtain. Now, because this is a telenovela and they have taken all of those novels and tried to weave them together to make one big comprehensive narrative, which happens to be about the struggle of China to regain its sovereignty against Japanese imperialism and probably some Russians as well. They did have to make changes, and like with La Petite, the French TV show, they had to make sure that their main cast took over the roles of all of the characters. So in Checkmate, as this is the second arc, but the first one that we're talking about, because we're going in the chronological order in which Agatha wrote the novels, our Poirot analog is Situ Yan. And he is young, he is idealistic, he is a lawyer. He comes onto the stage in Murder on the Orient Express, and that is our Situ Yan. He is Hercule Poirot. And then his Hastings is Luo Shaochuan, who is young and rich and a dandy and quite hot-headed and just loves whipping out that pistol whenever he feels the need.
Just like Hastings does.
Well, I don't know that Hastings does that, actually. But Luo Shaochuan comes complete with a large interfering family. His father, who is murdered promptly in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is the arc we'll discuss today. His cousin, whom she is his fiancée. She is looking forward to marrying them. That is, I have to look at the list. Oh, Zhao Xingxian. I hope I'm pronouncing the Chinese names correctly. Anyway, that is Zhao Xingxian. and she is his cousin, and you discover later on what a roundabout way that she is his cousin, so it's not like they're blood close. And then Zhao Xingxian's foster mother, who is Bai Shan Shan, and Bai Shan Shan is Luo Shaochuan's father's sister-in-law. So she is an aunt who married in. Um, if you wonder about the names, we had to learn this. And in Asia, they do the family name first, and then they do the given name. And so when you see a name like Lao Shaoshan, Lao is the family name, and then Shaoshan is like a given name, and then something else again for that third syllable. I am not sure what. The other thing is that when a woman marries into a family, any family, and this is true in Korea, and it's true in China, she doesn't change her name. She still retains the name of her father. Her children, however, will take their father's name. And so that's why you'll see, particularly when you get to Ms. Ma, you'll see that Madame Park is married to Ju Choi Wan, and
She's still called Madame Park.
she's still Madame Park because that's her father's name.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the murder of Roger Ackroyd, and one of the really interesting things, and I really recommend that you do this, you do a film festival. You watch the films, the adaptations of Agatha's novels, and you watch them in the order in which they were filmed. And so this is the fourth adaptation of Roger Ackroyd. There are actually 5, but the first one is lost. So we watched the David Suchet Roger Ackroyd, and then we saw the Russian one, which is truly superb, absolutely flawless. The Japanese one with Monse Numura, which was almost as good, but they softened Dr. Shepard a little bit. And now the Chinese version, which was substantially rewritten to make Luo Shaochuan, who is the Hastings parallel, he fills the role of Ralph Payton. And his cousin, Zhao Jingzuan, she becomes Flora Ackroyd. His aunt becomes Mrs. Cecil Ackroyd. There is no Hector Blunt. There is no Sister Caroline. Everything has been revamped. And yet, and it helps tremendously that, I'm now seeing this for the third time, and that we saw the others. This is still closer to the novel in terms of clues and structure than the David Suchet version, which should be the gold standard, and it is the worst version of them. It's really sad to say that. I know poor David Suchet, he did the best he could with that script, but
Now, what's also interesting about this, and we go back to the main cast here, is that you have basically 2 couples and a 5th wheel.
Yes.
Because you have Situ Yan in the center there, and on his left is Luo Shaochuan, and behind Luo is his cousin / fiancé,
Zhao Xingzuan.
And on the right, now you'll have to identify.
Okay, now
Zhao Moan.
Yeah, that is Zhao Moan, the young lady in the dark green coat, and she turns into Situ Yan's love interest across the entire arc, and she is a really complicated character. And then off to the side on the far, I have trouble with my right and my left.
It's the right side.
Is that the right side?
Yeah.
Okay, that's him. That is Jin Qiming, and he gets introduced in Murder on the Orient Express, and he is a cub reporter, and he is an eager beaver. And if you remember Jimmy Olsen from the Superman comics, he is Jimmy Olsen, and by God, he wants to help. He wants to be there. He wants to do everything. And this becomes really important at the end.
Yep.
Now, remember, I said that they adapted a number of novels. As you move into the series, and it's totally worth watching, but you have to watch it a minimum of 2 times. The first time, because it's so overwhelming and you have no idea how the parts fit together. The second time, you start seeing how things fit together. And when you watch the second time, you realize that there's a funeral sequence where Mrs. Ferrars has been, no, not Mrs. Ferrars, Master Shen, Situ Yan's teacher, and that's Zhao Moan at the funeral. But you realize that you see some people there that you do not see again until they get to 3-act tragedy some 20 episodes later. And Curtain, which is that's the final Poirot novel. Curtain here starts in the first episode, but you don't know that until you get to the end. And then you discover that characters that you thought you knew, you didn't know who they were at all. The person you saw is not real. And it's beautifully done, but you do have to watch it twice, probably even 3 times, to really appreciate how carefully interwoven everything is.
And what makes this especially interesting on just a kind of a technical level is the sets, the designs, the costumes. They put they put money into this. And in fact, there's a little video on YouTube that talks about building the city. And this is just a short description of what they did. And there's the time lapse of them building the houses. In China, there's at least a dozen, maybe even up to 20 movie cities. And this is what they did. And that's the Orient Express that they built. And it's all green screened. So they're not shooting outside.
You would never know when you see those snow scenes. It looks really real.
Yeah.
And then everything else mostly takes place in the city of Harbin.
And that's with the interiors. And
that's Madame Shen's house.
All looks like solid wood.
Marble floors. I mean, my goodness.
It may be all fake. You don't know. It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood, baby. But, I want a chair like that.
I know. I know. That's the second best chair. That is the second best chair in all of the Agatha Christie films, because the very best chair is the one in the Swedish.
Yes, Yersin.
Sven Yersin. They have the very best
series.
Chair ever. And when we get to that, wow, you'll see the best chair ever. But that's the second best chair in the series.
And
Harbin is a northern China city. It's a city that the outside world probably doesn't know very much about at all, but it's a major city, and it is practically on the Russian border. And they built this entire city from scratch in that mega soundstage. And because Harbin is so far to the north, it has a very strong Russian influence. So you see Cyrillic lettering all over the place.
Yeah. Harbin is in the center of the Manchuria province, which is northeast China. It's kind of the bulge in northeast China. So Russia swirls around it, and North Korea borders on it.
And this is important later on for, like I said, the overall arc in Checkmate is the struggle for sovereignty against Japanese imperialism. Now, when you look at the street scenes in Harbin, and when we first started watching this, we didn't realize it was a soundstage, the biggest soundstage ever. And the only things that they are not correct on, for the review, when I watched it again a second time, I had Legrand Cinq-Mars and Peter Fung helping me out, and they answered all of my questions about China, and they said that Harbin would have been 10 times as crowded and 10 times as dirty. Because you're not seeing any dirt, and it's not nearly crowded enough. And they also said that in every single one of these rich people's mansions, you will see dozens of servants floating around. You will not get one housekeeper. And in the Roger Ackroyd, we get the housekeeper, that she's the Mrs. Russell character, and this is the secretary.
Secretary Butler.
Butler. He is Fang Hong, and he combines Jeffrey Raymond and Parker the butler.
And you can tell from his coat what status he holds in the household.
Yes, he is most definitely a servant, and that's Miss Russell, and she is very much the Miss Russell that you got in the novel, and Fang Hong combines the all of Jeffrey Raymond and Parker. And there are 2 kitchen servants who show up once. You don't see anyone else. That is not actually correct. You would have a dozen servants drifting around that place, keeping it maintained. The other thing you'll notice as you're watching Checkmate, because it is taking place not just in Harbin, but in Harbin in the winter it is cold. Everybody is bundled up. They may look super styling, but they are bundled up. They are wearing gloves indoors. They are sitting around braziers in the middle of the living room. When you see the teacup on the table, you see the steam rising up from it. It is cold. It is very, very cold. The whole thing takes place during the winter.
And again, all I can say is I'm looking at all this design, all these curtains and paintings, and the amount of work they put into this is just really astonishing for a 24 episode series. And all we hope for is that they find a good home, or they use them somewhere in some other production. But the thing is also, because it is set during the Republic of China.
I say about 1920. I worked out the dates from various little clues inside of the narrative.
But that means that the narrative can actually delve into areas that would be more sensitive if this was set in the present day.
Oh yes, there are torture sequences with the police. You truly understand police brutality. So this is Miss Russell, and she does have her son. The ne'er-do-well son that she had out of wedlock, and that is Captain Bao, Sergeant Bao, and he is a figure of fun until you see something like this, and he already knows. He has decided Miss Russell must be guilty of murder, just like he had decided that Ralph Payton, that is Luo Shaochuan, was guilty of murdering his father. And he will torture you to get the information out. And there's actually a sequence where I think it's Situ Yan. I can't remember now if it was Situ Yan or if it was someone else, saying that if they couldn't let Luo Shaochuan be arrested, he's playing the role of Ralph Payton. He had to be hidden away because he would be interrogated and he would be tortured until he confessed. And let me tell you, if you are being interrogated and tortured, you will confess to anything to make it stop. Don't think that you're going to be brave. You won't be. Hundreds and thousands of years of experience say differently. But here he is. He's woken up out of a drunken stupor and is being faced with the arrest. And of course, he has
no idea why.
And you see the ring of rifles. You see the ring of rifles.
He's the hero, and he has the plot armor.
Yes, he has the plot armor. And he's going to leap through the window and.
And the chase is on.
Land on his feet without breaking his ankles, and the chase is on. And here he is, and then he ends up at Madame Shen's house and hopes that Situ Yan can find out who murdered his father and who, what is going on.
Yeah.
So, as I said, this is the murder of Roger Ackroyd. And so when Luo Shaochuan arrives...
Oh, by the way, of course, we're going to have some spoilers.
Yeah,
if you haven't read the book, read the book first. Please, you will thank me for it, because you can only read it once.
Yes, you can.
From this point on,
yes,
you're on your own.
You're on your own. You can only read Roger Ackroyd once. Agatha rewrote the mystery story, the mystery genre, when she published this novel. And there are still people who argue she didn't play fair. She did play fair.
And as a matter of fact, in our book, in our complete annotated edition of Roger
where's
Ackroyd.
That book? Oh, there it is. Oh, good. Good job, dear. You got the picture up. And
I have an essay that discusses that very point, and it refers to some Frenchman's book who killed Roger Ackroyd, in which he argues, goes into a deep discussion about it, and I discuss it too with them. So, buy the book and read it. You'll thank me for it.
But yes, it is a novel that can only be read once, because the ending is so shocking that you do not forget. You pick it up 10 years later, you start reading it, and you remember, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Yep.
And the thing with the David Suchet version, they didn't play fair. They didn't follow that novel structure, and they made the murderer, and I guess I have to say his name, they made the murderer just another suspect, because he wasn't in the position of trust. And in the novel, Dr. Shepard is in a position of trust. He is Poirot's Hastings.
Right, and he's narrating the story. And that's what you get in the Russian version, and that's what you get in the Japanese version. And that's a little bit what you get here. Luo Shaochuan, remember, is playing Ralph Payton, but the Dr. Shepard character here is taken by director
director Zi Hua, and he is the deputy director of police, and he is Roger Ackroyd's best friend. He is one of his best friends. They spend time together. They do all kinds of things together. And as the deputy police chief, think Inspector Sugden in Hercule Poirot's Christmas. He is right there, Johnny on the spot, to help with the investigation, to guide the investigation, to move forward in the investigation, and to push the investigation in the direction that he needs it to go. So the characters, there is no Caroline Shepard, there is no Hector Blunt, but you do get obviously Miss Russell, and you get Parker and Jeffrey Raymond. You get director Zi Hua. You get Mrs. Ferrars. Mrs. Ferrars is a very important character. There she is. She is standing next to Roger Ackroyd, Luo Shaochuan's father. I'm sticking with the English names because it becomes really difficult to get the names right. And this is something that you don't realize. They're at the funeral of Madame Shen's husband, who had a sudden, shocking heart attack, and you will find out 20 episodes from now, and by the time we get to that film, by the time you get to that film, you'll have forgotten. But his is the first death in the 3-act tragedy arc, and then you don't discover this until 20 more episodes pass.
Mm-hmm.
But Mrs. Ferrars, she's standing there with Roger Ackroyd at the funeral as if they were already married. I had to have this explained to me. I had to have this pointed out to me. They're not official. She is not his wife, and yet she is acting in the position of his wife, and this causes many problems with Roger Ackroyd's sister-in-law, Mrs. Cecil Ackroyd, who is, of course, by Shan Shan. And she wants to know why she is not running the household, why she isn't his hostess, why she isn't in charge. She raised his son. She raised his Zhao Xingzuan, who ends up being her, her daughter, his niece. She's done all of these things. Why is she not the one in charge? And she gets a few digs in at Mrs. Ferrars at the funeral.
Yeah,
she's pissed off.
And she and Luo Shaochuan, he really catches it from her, because
oh my gosh,
he is from both ends, because he's the son. He's in charge of the house. He's in charge of the family. A young Hastings in charge of the entire family, and she is letting him know she does not approve of
she
this
does not
one
approve
bit.
of that at all.
That's really one of the enjoyments of it, is watching her dragging about.
Oh yes,
breathing fire.
Oh, absolutely. The pushy mother-in-law, the pushy aunt. I mean, every culture has them, and even Director Z at various points is like, "Oh my God, that woman! Please let me not have to talk to that woman,
Mm-hmm.
because she is going to be so difficult."
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mrs. Ferrars is not exactly the way she is in the novel. She does indeed poison her husband, and she is feels guilty about it, but she does not commit suicide. She is murdered. And Roger Ackroyd is, of course, very, very upset about the murder, and he wants the crime solved, and he turns, of course, to Director Z, who is his the Dr. Shepard parallel. Yes, this is made to look like a robbery, like a common robbery and not a specialized robbery. And this is and unfortunately, Checkmate apparently didn't do well enough in the China market. And so they have, when you watch all the way through all 24 episodes, and then you do it again to make sure you understand what's going on, you realize that they left enormous dangling plot threads for season 2. And one of them shows up, you just saw him, that I think would have been an important character in season 2. But he's not an important character now. He just comes on, murders Mrs. Ferrars. You find out the reason why, and you find out the reason why Director Z is doing what he's doing. And then he had gone off to, we'll say Beijing, although that's not the right city, but it's definitely not Fentiang. He goes off to some city and he disappears.
Drops out of the story.
Drops out of the story completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, gets away with murder.
Then it's possible, and again, because it's set in the Republic of China, at the end of this arc, when someone commits suicide and they decide, well, we'll just blame both murders on him. We'll blame Roger Ackroyd's murder on him
And Mrs. Farrar's.
Farrar's. And Situ Yan is objecting, of course, to this, and
because he's an idealistic, crusading lawyer, and he knows this is wrong.
Yep.
And I think it is pointed out to him. I think it's Sergeant Bao points out to him, "Don't interfere, dummy. You don't want anything bad to happen to you, do you, dummy?"
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to tell with the subtitles. The subtitles for our version, we got it off of eBay. The subtitles were truly dreadful, and if you can get a better subtitled version one from IQ Ying, the people who made it,
in the show notes, I show you. I link to their YouTube-like website, but you have to log in. I would suggest just going ahead, and if you really want to see this, to go ahead and buy it off eBay. There's plenty of sellers. You can get it from anywhere from $25 for the box set up. And if you're really interested, well, I think that's the best way to go, but that's just me. It's not available anywhere else.
Yes, which is a pity, because if this is a sample of Chinese drama, wow, they do a fantastic job.
As a matter of fact, Situ Yan, the actors playing Situ Yan and Luo Shaochuan, they were together previously in some other series called something like My Roommate is a Detective. Contemporary. And I guess you can just write your own story from there, but it sounds like one of those charming a charming
bromance, a charming bromance, without a doubt.
Yes.
But it's I was really impressed. This is the third time, I think I mentioned, the third time that we've actually seen this particular arc, because we watched the whole thing and then knew we had to rewatch it all to review it for the book. And watching it the third time after seeing the other versions of Roger Ackroyd, I was amazed at how thoroughly, how completely they worked in all of the clues, the dictaphone, the shoe footprints, the timing, of having Charles Kent show up. It was really startling how much they made sure they got those clues worked in, and I know I didn't catch them the first time around. I didn't catch most of them the second time around, because there's all so much happening, but it's all there. And you don't miss the absence of Hector Blunt or Caroline, because they're not necessary. And I'll give a plug for International Agatha Christie she watched. Unfortunately, this is my office copy, so I have it labeled as such. But China gets an entire chapter to itself, of course, and each of the story arcs is reviewed. But what we have in here, there we go. Do I have it held up correctly?
Yeah, that's good enough. But basically, we have the cast list on the page, because this is the kind of thing we needed when we were sitting down, is to understand who's that character and what role do they play?
Yes, how is the relationship? Related? Yeah, because there are characters, again, they show up, because the opening 3 episodes take place on the Orient Express, and then for most of the rest of the show you're in Harbin, unless you're in Vientiane for a couple of episodes. And so you meet Mo Li, the restaurant cook, and you meet Zhao Moan, and you meet them in episode 4. You meet Jin Qiming in episode 1 on board the Orient Express. Sergeant Bao, whom you're going to see consistently. You meet Du Heng in the murder scene. He's going to be that actor there with Situ Yan. That character is going to become very important in the 1-2 Buckle My Shoe story arc, which you won't get to until after you've gone through Cat Among the Pigeons.
Yeah, so he shows up here in episode 4 and won't show up again probably until 8, 9, 10, somewhere there.
Probably 9 or 10, because we have to do Cat Among the Pigeons, which here is called the Haunted Girls' School.
Yep.
And it is haunted, and it becomes, again, it's not English. It's not
And
Western
that's part
American.
of the fun of
And
this
it is.
is seeing the culture, seeing a Chinese culture being presented to us through a Chinese lens. So, you know, some things are going to be softened, some things maybe not, but
And
it's still going to be, it's like going to China.
and
Only a lot easier.
a lot easier. But what you're also seeing is this is not just a different culture. This is a culture that does not think like Americans do, like Englishmen do. You know, you watch that police torture scene, and you will see this coming up in other episodes of Checkmate, and it is utterly matter of fact. And you cannot imagine an English Bobby, an English constable, or you know, some small town sheriff acting this way. They don't have torture chambers in the police department. But they do in Harbin, and there's a reason why even if you are wealthy and important, you don't have to care what the police do because you're above it. But if you're a normal person, you're afraid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all very normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's watching all of the international Agathas has been, you know, this wonderful educational experience where you see that other people do not think like Americans from Ohio. They just don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you see differences in Les Petites Mouettes de Agatha Christie, the French series, their attitudes towards sex, towards relationships, towards the genders, you know, the French are from
a different country.
They're a different country, but they're still European based. We share similar attitudes, but yet there's still differences. And then you go to China, which originated entirely separate from Western civilization, from Christianity, from Judaism. You know, their own
Different group. They are their
for
own
thousands of years.
Thousands of years. I mean, we were scratching ourselves in the woods when they had palaces. So.
So, but that's what makes this fascinating to see how these characters think, how these characters act. And yes, how they act does not necessarily mean the whole. You have variations in characters as well, and cultures too. But that's part of the fun of looking at this and just absorbing all this. And we've watched almost all the Agatha Christie adaptations we can find. So we did a really deep dive into this for the last 5 years.
And now we're working our way through it all again.
Through it again shortly, but with a lot more skimming and reminding ourselves, because we'll be diving into Jane Austen in a couple of months, and that's going to be that's our next deep dive.
But I think, have we said everything? Is there anything else that you particularly want to show?
I think pretty much. There's actually one other photograph. I mean, I just love, that's the silverware drawer where the knife is found, and you think, where did he get all this stuff from?
Oh my gosh. Yes. There was, the police chase. Was that the one with the dog pile?
Yeah, no, that was Situ Yan in bed. No, not
yes.
Situ Yan, Luo Shaochuan in bed.
Luo Shaochuan.
No,
yes.
I missed that one. There was actually a kind of that chase itself, or maybe it was that chase. It ended up with Luo Shaochuan catching up to somebody that he was chasing after and tackles him in the streets, and a dozen
have
cops
a dog
pile up on
in a
top
dog
of
pile.
him, like a Keystone Cops scene.
It's just really it's definitely worth it, you know, and again, it is definitely worth watching the Agatha Christie adaptations as a film festival, watching each adaptation in turn in the order in which they were filmed, so that you can see how the filmmakers take one important aspect and it carries through on all of the films, or they will change how they handle the different characters. And I have to say, of the 4 Roger Ackroyds, the Russian one is the best. I'm trying to make sure I can see my thumb on the screen. The Russian one is the best. The Japanese is the second best. Then the Chinese, and then the English with David Suchet, which should have been the gold standard, and it is the worst of the 4 and the one that is least true to the novel. So give Checkmate a chance.
Okay, so this coming Thursday, what are we going to talk about?
Okay, this coming Thursday, we are going to join the 21st century. And, well, no, wait, we are not going to join the 21st century. We are going to get ready for the 21st century because we are going to watch the 1981 version of the Seven Dials mystery. And we are going to see it we're going to see it Wednesday night, and then we are going to discuss it Thursday morning. And then the following week, we are going to watch the Netflix version of Seven Dials. And again, we're doing the film festival. And so we will see the 1981 version, which is very faithful to the text and was a really fun movie. And especially watching James Warwick as Jimmy Theisinger. And he really does make you think of Bertie Wooster
and the Drones Club.
and the Drones
There's
Club.
Definite Woodhouseian flavor to
this.
this.
Oh, my goodness. And really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to see it again. So we're going to talk about that next Thursday. And then the following Thursday will be the Netflix version.
Yep.
So I hope we'll see you all again next week. And
Thank you very much
thank
for
you for
showing
joining
up.
us,
We
and this did
appreciate
work. This is going to work, right?
I think so. If it doesn't, I am going to be scratching my head over this because all the lights are green. And
that's important.
That's important. Although there's a red light down there in the corner, and I'm not sure why, but we'll find. Maybe that just means it's recording. That's what I'm going to hope for.
Well, it's lots of little bitty numbers that mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm just the talent, folks.
That's right. Anyway, this is Agatha Christie they watched. So thank you so much for showing up. I'm Bill Peschel.
And I'm Teresa Peschel. And